Yeah.
It's George.
It's Elaine.
Come on up.
Hey, Vinny, listen.
I never heard anything like this in my life. Listen to this.
This is exciting! This is exciting! Huh? Did I miss anything already?
Kramer, get in.
Kramer! Where's the crazy man?
Hey, sit down. Come on, it's about to start.
Hello and welcome to Seincast, a retrospective on all 180 episodes of Seinfeld being hosted by two guys who can barely run their own lives. My name is Matt.
I'm Vinny.
What's up? How you doing?
Good. Yourself?
Just fine, just fine. We don't have any Seinfeld news for this week, so I figured we could just get into talking about this week's episode.
Let's get to the nitty-gritty. We actually got some good stuff today.
So, Vinny, what episode are we discussing today?
We are discussing the 7th episode of Season 2, The Phone Message. It was written by Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld, directed by Tom Sharonis, and originally aired on February 13th, 1991.
And for everyone listening, Vinny and I are following the episode order on our DVDs, which might contradict the air date order or most online guides. So we highly recommend that you pick up these episodes on DVD, all 9 seasons, or you can get like a complete box set. The people who put these together did just an awesome job, and it's worthy to sit on your shelf if it doesn't already. Before we get into this week's episode, there's a bunch of trivia to talk about today, right, Vinny?
Yes. Now, this is exciting.
Yeah, so what we're going to be talking about before we get into the phone message is this lost Seinfeld episode known as The Bet. Now, a lot of you are probably familiar with this episode, but for those of you that aren't, this was written by Larry Charles, who we talked about a few episodes prior. This was his first season working on the show. And it was sort of considered a dark Seinfeld episode, so dark, in fact, that they wound up never filming it altogether. But originally, the cast got together to read through the script on a Wednesday, which was typical. And by the end of the table reads, a lot of the cast members were feeling really uncomfortable about this episode, the content. And we're going to actually run through the entire story of The Bet, and maybe at the end you can decide whether they should have gone through with it or not. In early production drafts, The Bet was also known as The Gun, and the main storyline had Jerry and Elaine betting over whether Elaine would buy a gun to protect herself in the city.
So you remember how last week we discussed in the Chinese restaurant, Elaine, Jerry, and George walk into the restaurant, they're discussing cops versus garbage men?
Oh, yeah.
And we were trying to figure out why Elaine was on the subject of having more cops. So I was thinking about that plus the robbery where she was house sitting for Jerry and had the break-in. I was thinking those could have been the two catalysts leading up to Elaine wanting to buy a gun.
That's crazy.
So more specifically, I think the Chinese restaurant, because that was the episode filmed prior. So that was probably them setting up this storyline.
Mm-hmm. And thematically, at least, like even going all the way back to the first season. And New York at the time wasn't exactly the safest place in the world. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's actually a really good connection. I never really thought of that. We were trying to figure out why she was talking about needing more cops on the force.
It all makes so much sense now.
The other storyline in the episode was about Kramer returning home from a vacation to Puerto Rico, which I thought was interesting because we've sort of established that Kramer doesn't really leave his apartment. We've seen it a few times, but for him to go, on a trip to a different country, I think is kind of huge. And apparently, his skin was all peely because he got sunburned from the hotel's malfunctioning sunbed.
Yeah, which is very odd to me because why wouldn't Kramer get the sunburn from the Puerto Rican sun? But rather, he goes all the way down there and then he's in a tanning bed. Did you find that weird?
Yeah, it is a little weird. I never thought of it.
That's very Kramer, though. And then I'm also doing callbacks to episodes that didn't even happen. But if you remember in The Implant, Kramer mentions he's taking a trip to Puerto Rico and he's going to meet up with Elaine so that she can show him the places that she and Jerry visited when they went down there. Also, I was also reminded of the suicide when Kramer uses George's ticket to go to the Cayman Islands and he plays nude backgammon with swimsuit models. And then finally, they actually reuse the Kramer getting burned in a tanning bed gag in The Wife when Kramer meets Anna's parents for the first time and he gets burnt. Yeah. So much to the point that he resembles a black man.
Jeez, can't wait till that episode. It's so cool how even in this episode that wasn't even filmed properly, like these ideas still lingered, and we know tanning with Kramer, even all the way to the butter shave, is a thing in his life.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's interesting that even though these ideas never, turned into an episode, they still stuck around, whether they were just on the writers' minds or, on a dry erase board somewhere in the writers' room. Now, Kramer's storyline, though, wasn't just about the sunburn. It was about his flight back. Kramer apparently had sex with a stewardess in one of the rows of the nearly empty airplane. Jerry, knowing about, I guess, Kramer's sexual prowess, which hasn't really been established at this time, believes the story, but George is a little skeptical, and George and Jerry have this bet of $100 over whether Kramer is telling the truth or not. So that's sort of where the idea of the bet comes from, in addition to Elaine, betting with Jerry whether or not she'll get a gun. Does that sound like a pretty good plot to an episode, like just on the surface before we get into the details?
Well, if you think about the time frame of when this episode were to occur, it seems completely unlike the, I don't know how many episodes we've already gotten through before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so dark. I cannot think the Elaine character that we have gotten acquainted with at this point, I cannot see her going to buy a gun.
Yeah, it's funny. I think the most controversy, if you haven't picked up on it by now, is the gun plot line. Most of the cast wasn't really comfortable making jokes about a gun, but what kind of gets me a little weirded out is the Kramer subplot, the idea of him having sex with a stewardess in a nearly empty airplane. It's weird because the whole Seinfeld revolves around sex and dating and stuff like that, but for some reason that everyone close their eyes and imagine Kramer having sex with a stewardess in an airplane. I don't know why that seems just like a little too vulgar for me. I don't know why. I'm not a prude in any way. I love dirty humor. I love raunchy humor, but for some reason this show with that kind of subplot doesn't feel right to me.
And it's not even, in the bathroom, like that whole Mile High Club notion, but rather in a row of an empty plane. They're doing it right in the open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something just feels just a little bit off to me with this subplot, but let's get into the specifics. Kramer takes Elaine to see his friend, and I love this, that they actually have the full names of characters written out here. It's not just a friend. The friend's name is Mo Korn, who is described as overweight, greasy, slow, and low-key. He's a man of few friends who lives with his mother. So this would have been a really cool sort of, first off, it would have been a friend of Kramer's that we finally get to see. And it's just sort of a neat, probably single-shot character that we have a lot of in these early seasons. Characters that never really crop up again.
Now, does that name sound like it'd be a Larry David friend name?
Yeah, well, Mo Korn. It's Korn with a K.
Yes, Korn.
I don't know. It sounds kind of made up, but...
It sounds so made up that it has to be real to me.
I can hear what you're saying, sure. Ernie Sabella was cast as Mo and participated actually in the cast reading. So this episode got far enough that they were casting the characters. They were getting ready to film before they pulled the plug. Ernie Sabella, even though he didn't get to film any footage as Mo Korn, would show up later in Seinfeld as the naked fat guy in the subway. Mo would show Elaine and Kramer several guns, and Elaine would reluctantly hold a gun for the first time. So that just right there, that image feels wrong too. Like the idea of Elaine holding a gun.
Yeah.
I don't even know if guns show up. Oh, what am I saying? I mean, just a few weeks prior in the baby shower, we had this shoot up with Jerry, installing the illegal cable. And that was a Larry Charles script. So we've already gotten into gun violence a little bit on the show. And while it's dark, it does work. But the image of Elaine with a gun in her hand...
Perhaps that's what makes it not funny, is the fact that it's grounded in reality versus a dream sequence.
How do you feel, though, about that?
I don't even want to see that image. Mm-hmm. It's weird. I don't know if it's just because I have this pure vision of Elaine in my mind, but yeah, I don't want to see her holding a gun.
Yeah. Fun bit of trivia. At one point in this scene with the Korns, with Mo and his mother is there, also Mrs. Korn, she at one point would ask Kramer about his mother, which is interesting. That's the first mention we get of Babs. And Kramer responds that she's better and her tonsils grew back, which we'll, I guess, revisit in the heart attack episode in a couple of weeks when George goes into the hospital and the doctor tells him that his tonsils have grown back. So again, a lot of stuff is getting recycled here. I wonder if that's what has to happen when you spend so much time writing an episode, going through the table read, that you can, start kind of like picking the carcass clean and just taking jokes away to reuse later.
Yeah, they're breaking down the car and using it for spare parts.
Much better analogy.
Thank you.
A bit later in the episode, Elaine is in the car with George, and she tells them that she didn't buy the gun. She decided to buy a toy gun instead. And since in their bet, Jerry never really stipulated that it had to be a real gun. Now, did this remind you a little bit of the Chinese restaurant when they made the bet with Elaine to eat an egg roll off of someone's plate for $50? And she gets a little upset, like, hey, I don't want there to be like a stipulation, like I didn't put mustard on it.
Some loophole.
Yes, and Jerry's like, nope.
No tricks.
Right, so this running theme of, maybe people not, keeping up their end of the bargain.
This is also not the only bet that we'll see throughout the series, the contest. There's a wager for $100 to see who can hold out the longest.
All right, there you go. And if this episode were called The Bet, I wonder if the contest would be named something else, because that's definitely... Those titles are way too similar, I feel.
Yeah.
They'd get confused all the time. So at this point, Jerry isn't in the car. He does enter the car, and the three actually head off to the airport to find the stewardess that Kramer had sex with to verify his story and determine who won the bet. Now, at the airport, near the security screening area, George spots Kramer's stewardess, and she's described as this beautiful redheaded woman named Lucy Merritt. Again, I don't know why these characters have full names, so you're right. I think they must be friends of the Larrys or Jerry, maybe. George tells Jerry and Elaine that the woman is so beautiful that she would never have sex with Kramer unless she has a fetish for human oddities, which in this case, he might have a shot. So I guess George was looking at this woman saying, like, oh my gosh, like, if she likes Kramer, she must like me, which is sort of rough. I mean, everyone gives Kramer a hard time.
At first,
Sure.
then he becomes the Kavorka and just can't keep women off of him.
Now, I can't think of the first episode that we get a little bit into, like, Kramer being this, sexual animal, but...
I would think either when he's dating Tina, was that The Truth with the glass table, and he's an animal, with the
That's
African
true.
music, or the nose job when he has that jacket that women find irresistible.
Mm-hmm. This is sort of jumping ahead because those are pretty innocent moments. I don't know,
Yes.
The fact that he had sex with a woman on a plane, that's such a huge leap forward. I wonder if that's if that would have been kind of tough to buy.
Yeah, because they go from 0 to 60, from him being a recluse to him being a sexual deviant, if you will.
Sure. An actress by the name of Bobby Jo Lathan was cast as Lucy, and she also attended the read-through for this episode. A few weeks later, she would also return to the Seinfeld world in The Stranded, playing Patty the prostitute. Patty the prostitute always scared me a little bit. She was the woman who's like, listen, man, mister, I want my money, right? She gets in a little disagreement.
Pleased to meet your acquaintance, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe it's the hair and the fact
And
that
she's got the big fur coat, right?
Yeah, it's just a very intimidating presence. So she probably looked a lot different as the stewardess, but...
I also like that they like these actors, Ernie Sabella and Bobby Jo Lathan. They like them so much that they brought them back.
Yeah. And I wonder if they kind of felt like, hey, we owe it to you because you were supposed to be in that episode and got screwed over. Now, The Stranded is interesting to note because it aired during Season 3, and we'll get into why it aired during Season 3 later, but we are going to be covering that in Season 2 because that is originally when it was written. George introduces himself to Lucy, and he says that his name is Ralph Flemmer. So right on the spot, George is making up another name, and he claims to be a journalist doing a story for a magazine.
Now, the way Flemmer was spelled was FLEMM-ER.
I think that would sort of imply like he made it up. He was like Flemmer.
Bert Har, Vincent. Yeah, that kind of stood out to me. Why does he want to use his real name?
I think just to, in case things don't go well.
Okay.
Or if George is a liar, right? George introduces Elaine and Jerry as his wife Amanda and her cousin Jess. And they're going to Rochester on the 115, and they're a little early, so they just like to listen. So you have these three people sort of, surrounding the stewardess, interviewing her. After they talk to Lucy a little bit, and they ask her what a co-pilot does and whether she's ever seen anyone get sucked out of an airplane, George gets to the subject of having sex with passengers, which is, talk about going 0 to 60. Lucy quickly ends the conversation. And George just, tells Elaine to pull out a picture of Kramer they had, I guess, taken of him earlier. And while rummaging through her purse, Elaine absentmindedly pulls out the toy gun she had bought, Lucy spots it, screams, and, security guards swarm onto Jerry, George, and Elaine. Which, it's funny, on paper, when you're reading this, it definitely feels like a Seinfeld episode. This idea of two events tying together at the end, the gun, the stewardess plot line, and sort of not ending well for any of our characters.
I see that, but it also seems a little bit convoluted as well. Like, it seems like they're reaching to try and make them connect.
No, I totally agree. It's hard because we don't have the entire script in front of us here, so we can't maybe read a lot of the little bits that lead up to this moment, but these are kind of like the main building blocks of the episode. I just don't see why it's so important that Jerry and George drive all the way out to the airport to try to prove, who's right.
That seems like a reach. That's probably what's doing it for me. Is it seems like a big reach for them to warrant a drive to the airport.
Right, because drive to the airports are, or we should say, I guess, airport pickups or drop-offs are. That's like a big favor to do for someone in the Seinfeld world. So,
but they're not even picking somebody up at the airport, right? Kramer's already back.
Yeah, they're just going there to see. Well, to be fair, maybe they are so determined to find out which one of them is right, it warrants a drive to the airport.
$100. So
yeah,
I see George going.
Definitely. And then the final scene would begin on just a black screen. And this is a bit weird, but the scene is described as hearing Kramer murmuring that he's clearly having sex with someone. So right there, that's disturbing enough to just have the audio of Kramer having sex. And you hear the phone ring. Kramer turns on the light, and it's revealed that he's in bed with Lucy, the stewardess. And Kramer's on the phone, and he listens to George tell him about the predicament of them being in jail. Kramer tells him he doesn't have $200 for the bail, and he hands the phone to Lucy, who says, "Hi, Georgie, it's Lucy. Well, you win some, you lose some." And that's pretty much it for the episode. I don't know if we'd cut to Jerry doing stand-up or if he'd be doing stand-up in prison, like in the finale, but
perhaps, yeah.
That was the episode.
Jerry could be counting out the money that he won because he won the bet.
That's true, but last thing we know, they're in jail. Would you want them to be out of jail by the end of the episode?
Yeah, you never know.
What do you think, though? Is this, again, kind of... It feels like there's some missing pieces, right, to make this a complete episode?
It does feel like there's missing pieces, but it just feels like this gang of characters that haven't grown fully to what we know them as. It seems like this would have been very out of the ordinary for them. Mm-hmm. It seems very extreme for the situation they ended up in.
So the table read for this episode was on a Wednesday, and that's typically when table reads were, right?
Yes.
And then later they would sort of block the episode and later film it in front of an audience. Now, during the table read, Julia apparently had a lot of trouble getting through this episode. Larry Charles thinks it was a provocative story, and they wanted to see if they could make it work, which is why they, cast the episode. They got the sets built.
Jerry and Julia read this one scene where she has the gun and she's holding in her hand, and she says to Jerry in the car, "All right, Jerry, where do you want it? The Kennedy, the McKinley?" And she said it. She could barely get it out of her mouth. And I used to sit right next to Juliet, or right across from her, either way. And I remember her saying it and just looking at me with the most pathetic eyes, and then looking at Jerry and looking at Harry. And everyone got up from the table read, and she went, went over to her, and she went, "I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this." And I said, I don't think it's going to be a problem.
I'm kind of surprised it got to that point of being at a table read, and I'm surprised Larry David didn't pick up on that earlier on and let it go that far. Not that it was on him, but I'm surprised because his filter of what's funny is so good. I'm surprised this one made it all the way to the table.
Mm-hmm. And Larry Charles has said this on many occasions. He likes to push the envelope and see if they can find elements that would not normally find their way into sitcoms and make them funny.
Yeah, he said usually through the Larry-Jerry filter, you can take something dark and make it funny.
Right, so maybe Larry and Jerry thought this was funny, or at least thought it was worth a shot, and it was maybe getting everyone together when they realized, okay, this isn't going to work. At least it was, stopped before they started filming and editing the entire episode. So it's not like a lot of time or money was spent on getting this episode out there. They started working on the episode, and about 20 minutes in, that's when the cast stopped. Mainly, I think, Julia and Jason, and maybe even Jerry for that matter. And they looked at Tom Sharonis, the director, and they said, we can't do this show.
I said, I'll go talk to him. And I headed up to Larry's office, and Glenn Padnick was coming out into the parking lot. And he said, how's it going? I said, Glenn, we can't do this. And I think there was a sigh of relief from him, and we turned around and went to Larry's office and said, it's not going to work. Guns aren't funny.
I'm not exactly sure whether the phone message was on the docket to air or film that season, or if Larry just came up with it on the spot, but it definitely wasn't a complete script at that point. And once they realized that they had to film an episode, they either pushed up the phone message or Larry cranked out a script really quickly, because by Friday, just a day or two later, they were doing a table read for the phone message and filming it. So, a lot of people might give the phone message a hard time, but due to the circumstances, maybe you can understand why it comes out maybe a little thin or not a classic episode like The Chinese Restaurant or anything that came before it.
Spoiler alert, I actually really enjoyed the phone message.
I actually really enjoyed it too. It's something about these smaller episodes that aren't really deemed the classics that I feel like we get a little bit more out of.
Yeah.
Because we haven't, watched them to death.
Something else that kind of jumped out at me was the previous episode filmed was the Chinese restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the network was really upset of this static, one scene show. And the show that followed this was going to be The Bet. And the network, didn't have more to say about, you're going from a show about waiting in a Chinese restaurant to a show about guns and, making assassination jokes.
Violence really doesn't seem to be that big of an issue when it comes to entertainment. We'll push the envelope with that. But, you show a nipple at the Super Bowl and all of a sudden, everyone loses their minds. I can't do the Joker voice. But, yeah, it's really a shame, and it really just makes you wonder, what was going on at NBC for them to, care more about, like a fishbowl episode versus one about, gun violence. Well, I guess there's no violence really per se in this episode. It was just a gun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's tough. I hate saying this because I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself. This episode does feel a little dark to be worthy of Seinfeld. Nonetheless, I would have loved to have seen it. Like, I would have loved to see some even if it's dailies, like it's not even edited in a complete episode. I would have loved to just hear these lines coming out of the characters' mouths and really, waiting for it to be in front of you to really judge it as a whole. Mm-hmm. But if the actors, made the call early on, I guess it didn't even have a chance in hell to be funny. A lot of times, you can read something on paper and it doesn't really work the way it will when you see it filmed and edited and like a nice tight episode.
Yeah,
sometimes that can just totally bring on a different energy and a different mood. So, in that regard, I think The Bet was worthy to be filmed, just for that fact alone, just to see, hey, maybe this will work when all the characters are saying it and we have some audience reaction. But yeah, all in all, it's a shame that it never happened. But at the same time, I can understand why.
No, I absolutely understand why. Like, I see exactly why it didn't happen, and I'm not upset that it didn't happen. Because the subject matter was so dark, and Kramer having sex in an aisle with a stewardess, and my dear Elaine holding a gun. I just and then the need for Jerry and George to drive to an airport to make sure Kramer had sex with his. It doesn't jive right now at this point in the Seinfeld story.
Objectively, on the surface, it feels like a Seinfeld episode. Like, beat for beat, like it flows. But when you get into the real specifics of it, like, wait, why are they going to the airport? Wait, Kramer had sex with who, where? It doesn't feel like the Seinfeld we know at this point, at least. But good on Larry Charles, for bringing something new to the table and trying to bring something unconventional. I think we'll always applaud that, whether or not they film the episode or not. The fact that they're not just doing whatever the network wants them to do. They're bringing their own ideas to the table is fantastic.
And he even said in the interview, he was, kind of sad it wasn't able to happen, but he completely understood why.
Mm-hmm. One thing I did want to mention before we get off this lost episode, known as The Bet, is Jason Alexander said during an interview on one of the DVDs that
The Bet is the only one we never shot. There was one other one I wish we hadn't shot, but
What episode do you think he's talking about?
I have no idea. What is a poor episode that most people will say about Seinfeld?
And I don't even know if it's like a poor episode, like it's not funny, or if it might be the subject matter. That's what I thought he was sort of implying.
Okay.
But maybe you're right. So maybe we can put this out to our listeners. If you have any idea what episode of Seinfeld Jason Alexander was referring to when he said they shouldn't have filmed this episode, let us know. I can't think of it. It must be something early on, like probably season 2, maybe 3. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to think of an episode that's offensive.
Is he referring to the ones that he's not in, maybe?
Oh, there you go.
Or that, him and Kramer aren't in?
Oh, probably the pen is maybe the one that he could be referring to. That would be my money at this point without thinking about it too.
Because that's a solid episode. It's just you have 2 of the principals not in there, which is unfair to them, but that's them's the breaks.
Right. The only controversial episode of Seinfeld I can think of was the Puerto Rican Day parade when Kramer burns the flag.
Yes.
And I think that was a joke that was misinterpreted.
Oh, yeah.
just to defend the burning of the Puerto Rican flag.
They're a festive people.
But that's the only episode I can really think of, in addition to the pen, as you mentioned. But yeah, we'll put it out to our listeners. If you guys can think of an episode, or if you just want to throw an idea out there, let us know on Facebook or Twitter, or email for that matter. All right, now on to the phone message.
Show number 2.
Here we go, yes. The phone message, just to give it a little bit of context here, this was, of course, based off of something that happened in Larry David's life, and I think it would make sense that this would be a Larry David-inspired story, since he had the big responsibility of, we're not exactly sure whether coming up with the idea on the spot or just kind of like moving an episode up the production order, but he's left some of the worst messages in his life, he claims, on one of the DVDs, especially when he was single with women, and how women, he knows, have ended the relationship with him if he stammers. So if either of us left a message on a woman's machine like we host this podcast, I think she would probably cut the cord, right?
Or unsubscribe.
Yes, unsubscribe immediately. Interesting bit of trivia here. Larry David actually wrote a sketch for SNL during his one season on that show about breaking into a woman's house to try to retrieve a message. And what do you know? They didn't do the sketch. So I wonder how many ideas Larry had that they never did.
I'm sure they all ended up on Seinfeld if they didn't.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if most people know, but Larry David, when he wrote for SNL for a year, only got one sketch on the air, I think. And it aired at 12:55 a.m. Yeah. Have you seen the Larry David skit?
I haven't seen it. I've seen a still of it.
Oh.
My friend actually sent me this. Our friend Rich sent us in a text a still of the scene, and it's from the December 1st, 1984 SNL episode. Ed Begley Jr. was the host. Billy Squier was the musical guest. The sketch was called Elevator Stool. So this is how it reads. Larry David's sole SNL contribution to air. This sketch revolves around an architect, played by Ed Begley Jr., who gets upset when the owner of the building he's designing, played by Harry Shearer, questions the need for the elevator operator to have a stool to sit in, leading toward a physical altercation between the two. The sketch's basic concept was reworked into the B story of David's script for the Seinfeld episode The Maestro, with George Costanza suggesting that a security guard have a chair to sit in while on duty. The segment's removal seems to be more of a strategic move by the producers during the spring 1985 writers' strike, rather than active malice towards Larry David.
I think it was active malice towards Larry David.
I like to think of it that way myself, yeah.
Well, I mean, didn't he not get along with, I don't want to say many people on the show, or was it like Lauren? I wasn't Lauren Michaels. There was someone I remember hearing that Larry, like, they would write through the night on SNL. Like, it's infamous for having these, like, 24 or 48-hour writing sessions. And Larry was like, I'm tired. I'm going home, going to bed. And he's on the elevator. And the producer, whoever confronted him, he's like, where are you going? And Larry's like, I'm going home. Like, this is stupid. So now we're jumping ahead a little bit here, but only 13 million viewers tuned in for this episode. Now you compare that to the 19 to 22 million people who watched Seinfeld during the first season when it aired after Cheers, and you can see that there's been quite a bit of a dip in the audience numbers. So as a result, NBC actually put Seinfeld on hiatus for almost 2 months. And they made this decision even though there were still 9 produced episodes had yet to air. Now, typically that would mean, for show nowadays, for example, a break like that would mean the end of a show, but NBC decided to again air Seinfeld after Cheers when it came back 2 months later. So we're sort of jumping all over the place with sort of like the future of Seinfeld the rest of the season. We're also following episodes by production order, not air episode order, but we still know that this episode underperformed, let's say. Mm-hmm. And maybe, I wonder if most Seinfeld fans kind of agree. Like, it might not be that great of an episode, but we'll see.
We're so lucky that Seinfeld came out when it did in the early 90s, because you look at a show like Arrested Development, it didn't get the audience that it required to stay on the air, and it got canceled after 3 seasons and had shortened episode orders each season. Where am I going?
Well, no, I think you're right. Like, take for another Fox show, 2 Fox shows, for example, Futurama and Family Guy. You know, those are shows that underperformed, and what do? You just kind of push the show away. You don't let people know when it's going to air, and eventually it dies. So it sounded like, not someone, we know how certain execs, one in particular, Rick Ludwin, were really championing the show, that they were, you know, I guess they believed in it enough to put it back on Cheers' coattails, sort of.
They really gave it room to grow, which is something that you do not see in today's television atmosphere.
All right, so let's get into our discussion of the phone message.
The bad thing about television is that everybody you see on television is doing something better than what you're doing. You never see anybody on TV like just sliding off the front of the sofa with potato chip crumbs on their face. Some people have a little too much fun on television. The soda commercial people, where do they summon this enthusiasm? Have you seen them? We have soda, we have soda, we have soda. Jumping, laughing, flying through the air. It's a can of soda. Have you ever been standing there and you're watching TV and you're drinking the exact product that they're advertising right there on TV? And it's like, you know, they're spiking volleyballs, jet skiing, girls in bikinis, and I'm standing there. Maybe I'm putting too much ice in mine.
Solid stand-up right off the gate for this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is just fantastic. I usually, you know, refer to you if this is from his original material, I'm telling you for the last time, or something he might have tried out on HBO in the 80s, but I think this is great.
I can't recall, actually, if it is, but yeah, it's a solid piece.
Definitely.
What this makes me think of is, nowadays, any and everything can be seen on TV. You think about an idea for a show, it's probably on TV already. We got a show about just how much people can cram food into their mouths. You got shows about tow trucks, pawn shops. I mean, everything is on TV nowadays.
Yeah, and what are you doing? You're just sitting on your couch. What does he say? You're like rolling off your couch, covered in crumbs.
You got the potato chip crumbs on your face.
I do feel a little frustrated, though, regarding commercials, advertisements in America, how, and we'll get into this a little bit later with Jerry, he was really frustrated with Docker commercials in real life, but I do get really annoyed when people are just a little over happy, you know, when they're enjoying a product. You know, it's like, it's a thing of yogurt. Why are all these, typically women too, my wife points that out, like they're always like these thin, really attractive women, always laughing when they're eating yogurt, always smiling with each bite, and it's just so irritating
now.
Right. Let's see. First scene is at the coffee shop. We have yet to call this Monk's, right? It isn't Monk's.
No, we do have it Monk's, because when they sit at the counter, you can see the menu. It says Monk's Cafe on it. Okay,
so it's been established, but no one said it in the show yet, right?
No.
All right. Well, we'll call it Monk's. What the hell?
I'm calling it Monk's.
There you go. George and Jerry enter the coffee shop, and George is in the middle of a conversation about this girl he met, and he wasn't sure if she wanted him to ask her out, and he has this great line here, when women smile, I don't know what that means. Sometimes I interpret it like they're psychotic. And he just stood there, not sure what to do. Have you been in this situation before? Absolutely.
I can relate to this wholeheartedly. I have no idea what women mean when they look at me, they blink, they smile. I got nothing.
It's tough. I think a lot of people go through the same situation, but it's usually the exact opposite of what I'm thinking they're thinking.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, she wants me to kiss her. No, she definitely doesn't. And then later you don't kiss her, and they're like, why didn't you kiss me?
Yeah. I was giving you signals.
Just to interrupt this part here, I like how Jerry just says counter. He just points in the middle of the conversation. This feels like very much like a Larry Jerry sort of conversation.
Mm-hmm. And have they sat at the counter yet?
Great question. I don't think they have.
Because they've sat in the back booth a couple times now.
Mm-hmm. And they've sat like in the middle tables, kind of near the phone, the phones. But I don't think anyone's sat at the counter yet. And it's right in that area where the turkey is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kramer's turkey. One moment that kind of took me out of the scene was, do you recall this mention of Dan Quayle?
No, because I believe I was 7 and I wasn't into politics then, nor am I now.
I only knew Dan Quayle because I'm from Indiana originally, and Dan Quayle's from Indiana. And actually, Vinny, for those of you listening, Vinny and I went to college together. That's where we met. On my drive up to East Lansing from Indiana, I would drive past Fort Wayne, and there was always this sign on the side of the road that said Dan Quayle Museum. Oh. And this little sign, and that to me sounded like maybe the stupidest idea I ever heard. Who in the world would want a Dan Quayle museum? I never went, and the sign has since disappeared, so I don't know if it closed or what happened, but I'm really sad that I never got a chance to go and ridicule the Dan Quayle memorabilia.
Is there a Lloyd Benson museum in its place?
Lloyd Benson? I don't know, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe if I head to Texas, I could find out. This little mention here in the scene when George is like, I just stood there, and he asked Jerry, remember how Quayle looked when Benson gave him that Kennedy line? He froze. This is just, I think, a little too topical, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because it was completely over my head.
I had no idea what they were talking about. Did you, somewhat know what he was talking about?
No idea.
Yeah, so, just to give everyone a little clue here, during the 1988 presidential campaign, Dan Quayle... I'll just play the clip.
I have as much experience in the Congress as Jack Kennedy did when he sought the presidency.
Senator, I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
That was really uncalled for, Senator.
You're the one that was making the comparisons, Senator.
Sort of sucks here. We're a audio podcast, and you're supposed to be looking at Dan Quayle just freezing on camera there, but maybe we can throw a screen grab up on our Facebook and Twitter page for you. So George is continuing to tell his story, and he mentions that he's telling this guy Lloyd that he works with, right?
Lloyd?
Whenever you hear the name Lloyd, it's Lloyd Braun, right?
Yeah, it has to be.
But it's not, right?
No.
So this is someone that works at George's real estate company. And Lloyd kind of, I guess, pushes George into calling this woman, and George can't. For him to ask out a woman, he's got to get into a mental state like the karate guys before they break the bricks.
I agree with that too. You have to psych yourself into it because it's like jumping into a cold pool.
It's terrifying. Am I right?
Yeah. I remember I summoned the courage to ask out a girl in college over the phone, a girl from my Italian class, and I dialed it, got her. And I was like, hey, you want to, go out for dinner? And her response was, oh, you mean like a group of us?
God.
Yeah, a group of us. That would be great.
I just imagine you on the other line, the room around you just fades to black, and you're just standing there.
And then the Charlie Brown theme plays.
Yeah. Well, did you go on a date with her?
No.
No? Not with the friends or anything?
No.
Yeah, that's usually a sign she didn't want to go on a date. I'm sorry.
And then I found out later my friend actually went on a date with her.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
This is juicy. Maybe we need to amp up the energy on this show.
No, that's enough. We're done.
Scandals and animals.
Oh.
Lloyd called, I guess, George a wuss, right? And that shamed him into calling this girl. Would that work for you if I were to just call you a wuss, or Back to the Future reference, call you chicken?
Absolutely not.
You just feel like you're right.
Yeah, I'm like, yep. What? Anything to eat? So George also calls Jerry a wuss in the statue when Jerry is questioning Ray about the statue.
Oh.
And he's mocking him. Remember, they're sitting at opposite tables. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, I find you so charming, you wuss.
Like, did you just call me a wuss?
No, I said I'm at a loss.
I wonder if that was sort of a running joke they were going to have. through the season, but I think this only happens during season 2, right? The whole wuss name calling.
And then there's also being called Yella during the hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
Not Yella.
All right. I think they're just all ripping off Back to the Future.
Yeah, I did think of that as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is something that I found really interesting, and I get the vibe that this is, from the Larry David playbook. But George ate an apple when he made the call to this woman because he thinks if the person on the other line hears you chewing, it makes you sound casual.
So you called.
Right. And to cover my nervousness, I started eating an apple because I think if they hear you chewing on the other end of the phone, it makes you sound casual.
Yeah, like a farm boy.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Well, Vinny, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Because there's nothing more annoying than having a microphone or a phone right by your mouth and you're chewing and people have to hear it. It drives me insane.
Any questions?
What the hell is he talking about? Like, that would be the most annoying noise in the world to have on the other line.
Like a farm boy. Well, especially with an apple with that crunch.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking of, there's a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode when, I believe it's Kamikaze Bingo, when Larry calls Yoshi to make an apology for calling him chicken. He's eating, I believe, cashews or pistachios. No, he's eating pistachios on the phone.
Because it makes all the crunching and the popping.
Yes. Yeah. And he's putting the shells into the bowl. And Yoshi, who attempted to commit suicide already, gets so upset. He's like, you can't apologize and eat pistachios at the same time.
Right. I knew I'd heard this somewhere before, the idea of eating while on the phone. So there you go, Larry David. Now, when George called this woman up, hell, we'll call her Carol, because that's her name, not this woman.
Let's call her Carol.
George, when he calls her up, she gave him an enthusiastic hi.
Ooh, I love that. in the show and in real life.
Do you get the enthusiastic hi sometimes?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. More often than not?
50-50.
Oh, that's not bad. I rarely get the enthusiastic hi. Especially since getting... Well, when you're married, it just doesn't happen anymore.
But George is right. If I don't get the enthusiastic hi, I'm out of there.
Right. Someone needs to sort of like establish the mood of the conversation. And if the opposite party doesn't sound enthusiastic to talk to you, that's setting the mood for the entire convo.
Mm-hmm. Set the tone, ladies.
And men. Now, this is something, God, we're really getting a lot of George psychology here, just in him telling the story. But I really agree with this. He says that he doesn't like to spend a lot of time talking. He just blurted out, what are you doing Saturday night?
So, we're talking, and I don't like to go too long before I ask them out. I want to get it over with right away. So, I just blurt out, what are you doing Saturday night?
And?
She bought.
Great day in the morning.
Then I got off the phone right away.
Sure, it's like robbing a bank. You don't loiter around in front of the teller holding that big bag of money. You make your hit and get out.
That's a great way to go into these situations. Don't dance around the subject. I mean, some people might find it cute if you're nervous, but if you're going to establish who you are right out the gate, I think that, determination of just saying, hey, Saturday, let's do it. And
now, when George says she bought, meaning like she bit saying yes, because the way it's worded makes me think, oh, she bought dinner. But then I have to think, they didn't even go on a date yet. He just asked her out.
No, yeah, she bought, meaning like she bought the fact that he's being this. Well, first of all, she agreed to the date, yes, but I think she bought
the apples.
Maybe, yeah. She bought the whole like George like character. I'm not saying he's not being genuine, but it's hard for him.
He's projecting confidence.
Exactly. Like whoever he was pretending to be in this phone conversation, she bought into it. She's like, "Oh yeah, this guy's great. He's really determined. He's confident. He's headstrong.
Sounds like a farm boy." And Jerry makes a wonderful analogy. He says, with regarding getting off the phone right away, it's like robbing a bank. You don't want to stand there in front of the teller with that big bag of money. You make your hit and you get out.
Perfect. Yeah, this stuff is just gold. I love it. I don't know if this is like, if it's part Larry, part Jerry. It feels like they're kind of bouncing between the two, like literally in the writer's room, coming up with this stuff. We got a little bit of exposition here, or at least a little setup that George is like, it's amazing. We both have dates on the same night.
Yeah.
So we get a little bit of a setup for the next scene with Jerry and Donna. But
I'm happy for both of them that they both have dates on a Saturday.
Right. And I thought this was interesting. We can talk about it in the next scene, but this is the first time we're seeing George on a date. We haven't seen that yet, which it's funny when seeing George on a date, like in a car with a woman. I feel like we get that throughout the entire show. And just kind of crazy to think what episode are we on right now? 12? Like, it took the 12th episode to actually see that happen. George is usually just on his own or, talking about an ex-girlfriend here or there.
Yeah. Before we go on, the scene actually had a different ending with Jerry and George discussing where they were going to go on their dates. And George asks, what did people do on dates in the 1850s? Which screams Larry David to me. Larry David, I think, is fascinated by the Civil War period.
Comparing that to the like contemporary times, or modern
what they do
times.
for toilet paper back in the 1800s. But Jerry replies, they strolled. A lot of strolling. Winter, the guy would just go over to the woman's house and they would talk for an hour. And George asks Jerry how he knows all of this. And Jerry says, I'm guessing.
And I like that.
Very casual.
Oh, totally. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying George is calling Jerry out on his BS, just like this spewing out all of this knowledge. But Jerry has a lot of those moments in this show where he'll just kind of go on a little, I don't know if it's a bit or he'll go on some sort of a routine. And
Being playful.
Right. And there was one episode when George was like, where do you come up with this stuff? He kind of calls him out on it. I kind of like that. It kind of breaks down that illusion that everyone just accepts this guy as going on these long comedy routines in the middle of a conversation.
I like this original ending. I think it's kind of cute. So I could have seen them keeping it, and I would have liked it. But this ending is nice as well.
Yeah, I do like this a bit too. It's a lot funnier, to get us out. I think they had to cut it for time, most likely, because I don't think by any means it's not funny at all. Next scene is get a nice wide shot of the city, New York at night, and we're bouncing between George's car and Jerry's car. George is sitting with Carol, as he was talking about earlier. What do you think of Carol, by the way?
I like her.
I do too.
She's really warm, and she seems very sweet.
There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing like wrong with her per se. Like the funny thing about this show is you can have a totally normal person, but just because they have a weird little mannerism or just something a little off about them, it can make you not like them at all.
As we'll see with Donna, who I cannot stand.
Yeah, not a fan of Donna. But yeah, Carol is very sweet. I don't want to say there's nothing wrong with her, but she's just like a good person.
Yeah,
she's sweet.
She's pretty, and she's like, I don't know, everything about her I like. And I like her with George.
That's a great point. It's really how their date acts with them, like how Jerry or George would act. And George seems to be really smitten with her. And I think that energy kind of makes me like her a little bit more because he's kind of nervous. He seems a little too smiley.
Right. Well, I have in my notes, I found George very charming in this car in their date because he's not being neurotic. He's being himself, and he's talking about something that interests him, not doing laundry. And he's telling a story about, what he finds interesting. Oh, I have 40 pairs of underwear. Instead of doing a wash, I'm just going to keep buying new underwear. My goal is to get over 360 pairs, so I like to do a wash once a year. And she actually is appeasing him and saying, oh, that's funny, or that's nice, or whatever.
Whether or not it's funny, I guess, is up to debate.
Yeah.
I guess, right? Do you think she's just being nice to him, or?
Yeah. Well, because she's so sweet.
Yeah.
We love Carol. This also reminds me when George is on a similar date in the car, in the face painter, when he's dating Sienna.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about the evolution of toilet paper, and she's like, wow, I didn't realize that. And George is like, you find this fascinating, don't you? And then they get in that really amorous embrace.
Sometimes I get the feeling, just because I've been in that situation before where I'm either ranting or just going on and on about something with, a member of the opposite sex, and I'll just keep on going, and it's almost like they're just letting it go through one ear and out the other because they might like me so much they're just kind of ignoring this. Like if you really stopped and really thought about what I was saying, you would probably be really turned off. I don't know if that makes sense, but
like I am right now.
Yeah, there you go. Now we bounce over to Jerry's car, and he's trying to get his date Donna to try to do a Scottish accent. And she's like, oh, that's Irish. He's like, what's the difference? It is interesting, though, to see the two of them in a dating situation. Like, Jerry definitely feels much more confident, much more sure of himself. He always has his humor to fall back on if he can't, have small talk.
He's very sure of himself.
Very much so.
And George is off talking about underwear and laundry.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have the name of the actress that plays Carol and Donna real quick?
Yeah, Carol is played by Tori Pallone, and an IMDb search showed that her last
Sorry.
acting credit. No, that's okay. Her last acting credit was the phone message for Seinfeld. She hasn't acted since then.
Oh my God, really?
Which makes me so sad. I love Carol.
Oh my gosh, a dream of mine, and we just need to get on the ball. Is I would love to find a lot of these actors that appeared on Seinfeld and that might have, like in Carol's case, been their last acting role, or they haven't acted since like the late 90s, and just check in with them and see what they're up to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Donna is played by an actress named Gretchen German, or German. I don't know how. I'm assuming it's pronounced German.
Mm-hmm. Was she in anything since Seinfeld? Anything noteworthy?
She's been in stuff steady, and she's had numerous guest roles on various TV shows and movies, but nothing related to the Seinerverse.
Right.
Interesting bit of trivia, though. Actress Gina Hecht also auditioned for the role of Donna, and she later came back to play George's psychiatrist, Dana Foley, in The Pick, The Shoes, and the pilot episodes.
And she was the psychiatrist that gets in that fight with George, like with his zipper on his jacket.
Yes.
All right. I like her a lot.
Yeah, I like her too. She got a little Carrie Fisher thing going on.
Oh, really? I never noticed that.
Dana Foley.
Check that out. Carol thanks George for dinner, and there's a bit of an awkward silence here, which they do so well on the show. Maybe it's so easy for actors to do because it's just such a relatable situation, but George says, they should do it again, and this is when she offers George to come up for coffee.
So, thanks for dinner. It was great.
We should do this again.
Would you like to come upstairs for some coffee?
Oh, no, thanks. I can't drink coffee late at night. It keeps me up.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
Yeah, take it easy.
Have you ever been in this situation before where you misread what someone is saying? Misinterpret?
Yeah.
Yeah, this happens a lot.
Now, what stuck out to me here was this means that George was so charming on his date that it's implied that this woman wants to have him up for coffee and potentially sleep with him. Can we assume this?
Oh, sure.
And as I said earlier, he doesn't seem annoying on this date. He actually seems charming, and I don't know. It's a different kind of George we're seeing.
Right. The fact that George has always been an anomaly because this is so mean, but like just based on appearances and but and also like just his neuroses and whatnot. How is he getting these absolutely gorgeous women? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So
he's doing something. He doesn't have money.
Yeah, I don't.
His parents.
I mean, New York. I have to say, like, I think women outnumber men. I think it's like 3-1 or something. So women really might not have the best options, unfortunately. And men for that matter too. We want to recognize everyone, I guess. But yeah, I guess it does seem weird to you though that she is like willing to sleep with him on their first date.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels right because this has happened before. I just think it's weird because it's George, not so much that
George.
Yeah, like why? Unless she's in hell, maybe she really likes him.
Yeah.
He's cute.
So anyways,
I guess.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, she says, all right, good night. And George says, yeah, take it easy. She gets out of the car, and then George is going over it, he's doing the math in his head, and then he finally realizes what's occurred. I'm surprised he didn't blurt out, as she's walking, up the stairs. Oh, I'll have coffee,
Yeah. Well, I got to say, there's a side of George, I think, that would do that would freak out in the moment and like start screaming back at her. He's like, wait, he jumps out of the car. But I think for a guy that, screwed up once, at least he didn't screw up a second time by trying to get up there after saying no.
Yes. And then we wouldn't have George's storyline for this episode.
Oh, of course.
So it makes sense.
Well, I think if he actually, after Carol gets out of the car and he, shouts for her, wait, I will have coffee. I don't know if that really would have helped his chances that much. Because like,
come off as desperate.
Well, yeah, he's already kind of deflated sort of that chemistry.
Yeah,
the chemistry balloon. I don't know, but he's sort of ruined the mood already. That that I think he's probably better off just going home at this point.
Now we go to Jerry's car, and Donna thanks Jerry for the movie, and Jerry's much more cool about it. He's like, "Oh, you're welcome." And she says, "Oh, I'd invite you up, but the place is being painted." And again, Jerry's just like, "That's fine, you know." And she says, "Unless you want to go to your place." And again, Jerry doesn't jump. He takes a second, collects his thoughts, and then he says, "Okay, but there's no cake there if that's what you're looking for." So again, heat of the moment, he cracks a joke, and they end up back at his place.
I remember that line from like when I first saw this episode, and I remember hating that. I'm thinking this isn't funny. What is he doing? That's really dumb. But now that I'm a little older, a little wiser, I like that. I like it quite a bit. I think it's silly enough, and it's like you pointed out, he's just a little more casual, a little more confident with his responses. He's not over anxious, over eager.
Which, from what people tell me, women like. So then the next shot is George driving home, and he's just torturing himself, and he's repeating, "Take it easy, take it easy." He can't get over it.
And I read it in an earlier draft of the scene, George was also to say, "Oh Lord, why have you put me here?" Mm-hmm. Which I don't know why they cut that, like why that wasn't in there. Maybe the fact that George was like acknowledging there's a God, but
perhaps
he believes in a God only for the bad stuff.
Right, but I definitely. I definitely identify with George here when you've just made a bonehead move, and then that's the only thing you can focus on the drive home, and he just keeps repeating it to himself over and over.
Next scene is at Jerry's apartment, and he's sitting on the couch with Donna, drinking a glass of OJ, as you do.
At 11 o'clock at night?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's what he likes, and they're in the middle of a convo where Jerry says, "I think if one's going to kill oneself, the least you could do is leave a note. It's a common courtesy," which I didn't really find that funny, but I guess it's that little tagline he adds where he's like, "Oh, that's just the way I was brought up." So
I think Larry David thought this was funny.
Yeah? Oh, yeah, there you go.
Because in the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode, The Beloved Aunt, when Cheryl, Larry David's wife, she commits suicide. They have to go to the funeral, and Larry David is telling this story to his manager. He's like, "Yeah, the aunt just killed herself. Can you believe that?" And Larry says, "She didn't even leave a note." And then the joke is, would it have killed her to leave a note? It's like disrespectful, something like that. But it's so funny.
Yeah, I actually want to watch some Curb Your Enthusiasm now.
Yeah, I'm getting the bug.
Yeah, love that show.
So you said that was actually a dark way to open the scene. Originally, the scene began with Jerry telling Donna about his pony remark and how when you look at it a certain way, he could be considered as Manya's murderer, which I think is quite darker than what we got.
Oh, you think so? I like that because it's like it ties into a previous episode, which we're not getting a whole lot of in these earlier episodes, a little bit. But I would have liked that. That would have connected the two.
I love the fact that they're going backward and they're rehashing the story, telling a new character about something that's happened to the gang. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he's so lighthearted about, I could be Manya's murderer, technically.
Yeah, maybe you have to have a little bit of context to find that funny, and maybe that's why it didn't work. They wanted to maybe give Jerry just like a joke at the top as opposed to, oh, you needed to have seen this episode to get this joke. Jerry asks Donna out for Thursday, very confident, like it. And I love this little awkward pause here because I think everyone can relate to this when you're on a date or you're close, you're cozy, you haven't really, gone very far in the relationship. And you just have those little awkward pauses and you just look around the room for something to talk about. Not because you're nervous, but there are also sweet moments, though, where it just kind of builds the tension in an exciting way. Maybe totally disagree.
You should embrace some pauses there.
Right, and he points out the tan pants.
Tan pants? Why do I buy tan pants, Donna? I don't feel comfortable in them.
Those cotton dockers?
Oh, I can't begin to tell you how much I hate that commercial.
Really? I like that commercial.
You like that commercial?
Yeah, it's clever.
We mentioned this at the top, but Jerry Seinfeld, the actor, the comedian, really hated those commercials, actually. And this plot line was totally based on his actual feelings.
Oh.
Glenn Padnick, one of the execs at Castle Rock, remembers just how much Jerry hated that. So I don't know if you really had much of Jerry acting in this scene. This might all be genuine. Now, I don't...
Yeah, he does seem really passionate about the one where the guys are standing around supposedly being very casual and witty, you know.
I haven't seen this commercial. Maybe we can find a link on YouTube and put it in our show notes, but I can imagine what this commercial is. It's like any commercial out there, right?
Yeah, but think of 90s advertising, how over the top it must have been.
There was a parody of these kind of commercials, I think, on SNL in probably the early 90s, probably around the time this episode aired, like with the golden age, or at least our golden age of SNL with Adam Sandler, Phil Hartman, David Spade, and Mike Myers. Actually, they're in the scene. They're all standing around, kind of like a little basketball court, and they're all just having a casual conversation, and they're all wearing jeans. So it's like a parody of some, like Guess or Levi or something. And the joke is, I think they're having like these really dark conversation pieces, but it plays a little snippet of someone's conversation, fades to black, shows someone else's conversation, and I think it's a very similar kind of commercial, right, where you're just getting kind of like a fly in the wall sort of view on these guys' conversation, and they never once mentioned the jeans in the commercial, yet it's a commercial for the jeans.
Okay.
So now, of course, Donna disagrees with him. She likes that kind of commercial. She knows guys like that just stand around and talk, and already the mood is just totally ruined.
Well, she's trying to initiate physical contact. She's getting in close. She puts Jerry's arm around her, but Jerry will not let it go. And then you can see she starts to get a little peeved.
Is this one of the first times we've seen Jerry not let something go, where he has to say something, even if it means kind of ruining the mood with a date?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's always been pretty... I don't want to say he bites his tongue, but to be fair, is this also the first time we've seen Jerry on a date with someone? Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. He has Vanessa in
Vanessa.
season 1, which, that relationship had some tension. But this one, it seems like the ball is in his court. There's nothing really wrong. He's the one who's kind of picking a fight here. Because, it's not like the person you're going to be with is going to like everything you do and vice versa, but just let it go.
But I think as a comedian, he wants to get his point across. Not even as a comedian, but that mentality of this is how I feel. I want to tell you about it, and that's his sole intent right now.
No one is telling you to like it.
All those quick shots of the pants, just pants. But what is that supposed to be?
Next scene is a stand-up, and Jerry is talking about what's brutal about the date is the scrutiny you put each other through.
What's brutal about the date is the scrutiny that you put each other through. Because whenever you think about this person in terms of the future, you have to magnify everything about them. Like the guy will be like, I don't think her eyebrows are even. Could I look at uneven eyebrows for the rest of my life? And of course the woman's looking at the guy thinking, what is he looking at? Do I want someone looking at me like this for the rest of my life?
This episode is really speaking to us, I think, right? Do you think when you're on a date, especially if you're looking for something serious or long-term, you're like, could I feasibly, be with this person for the rest of my life?
I'm unfortunately very guilty of that, and I've been told I need to stop doing that. To just enjoy the moment and just enjoy it for what it is, and then see where the cards fall. Either way, it makes for a really good piece of stand-up because Jerry, imitates the guy and the girl, and he, as a guy, he says, "I don't think her eyebrows are even. Can I look at uneven eyebrows for the rest of my life?" Which reminds me of Cynthia. Later on, we'll see in the fix-up, women would kill to have her eyebrows.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the woman point of view that Jerry does is, what is he looking at? Do I want somebody looking at me like this for the rest of my life?
Again, I don't know if this was written for the show, but it's great. I feel like the stand-up in this episode is the most consistent it's been than any other episode. It's been really good.
And I love, mid-30s Seinfeld because his stand-up is all about dating and sex. Whereas if you go see Seinfeld now, it's probably a mix of, humor, but it has more to do with being a dad, being a husband, in addition to, cell phones and airports and stuff like that. But I love Jerry's take on dating.
Next scene is at Jerry's apartment. Elaine is there. I think this is the only scene we have of Elaine the entire episode, which is a little weird. But she's sitting at the coffee table. They're in the middle of a game of backgammon.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Backgammon. Okay.
Love backgammon. It's a fun game.
That's what he plays with Elle McPherson.
Yeah, nude.
Backhand with his models.
Jerry's telling Elaine that he's supposed to see Donna on Thursday, but can he actually go out with someone who actually likes those commercials? Which I love. We're really getting into this. I don't want to say meaner Seinfeld, but more vain Jerry Seinfeld.
And they're analyzing their dates, but in mixed company of the main main four. Although now it's just Jerry and Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where they start to kind of let's go over this date I had.
Right. Elaine tells Jerry that she once broke up with a guy because he didn't keep his bathroom clean enough.
I once broke up with a guy because he didn't keep his bathroom clean enough.
No kidding. Did you tell him that was the reason?
Oh, yeah, I told him all the time. You would not have believed his tub. Germs were building a town in there. They were constructing offices. Houses near the drain were going for $150,000.
And I feel like this comes back a little bit with the whole Jerry-George conversation, tub is love. That's how you really prove your love for someone, is keeping a really tidy bathroom.
On hands, knees, scrubbing, Ajax.
And when she's having that little, interrogation with her boyfriend and the sponge.
Yeah.
Doesn't she say you cleaned your bathroom or you cleaned your tub?
The sink, the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
This morning.
Yeah. It's a big deal for Elaine.
Good call, yeah.
George enters the scene. He takes out some Pepto and antacid on the counter. And there's something about the way he strolls in. And he's
so deflated when he walks in.
But I got to ask, does it... we need to have a segment on this show where just weird things that bug me. Does it bug you that he takes this stuff out and slams it down so they notice it? He's looking for attention?
No, I actually love that because... If he walks in, he's so sullen and his shirt's open. He looks disheveled, hasn't shaved, and then he strolls over to the counter and he takes out the Pepto, and the crowd seems to respond to it too. So I like that.
Yeah,
you're entitled to some sympathy sometimes. Give him a break.
I feel bad for him. I'm just there's something about me where I'm like, George is he could have taken that Pepto outside. He could have taken a swig. It's I want you to see how upset I am, but. Anyways, now it's only been a day, I think. We get a little bit of hints later on in the episode, how the week elapses, or how the scenes flow. But this is just the next day. This is just Sunday after their Saturday night date. And they get into this little debate here, George and Elaine do at least, whether or not coffee was coffee or whether coffee was sex.
I can't imagine what she must think of me.
She thinks you're a guy that doesn't like coffee.
She invited me up. Coffee's not coffee. Coffee is sex.
Maybe coffee was coffee.
Coffee's coffee in the morning. It's not coffee at 12 o'clock at night.
Well, some people drink coffee that late.
Yeah, people who work at NORAD or on 24-hour missile watch.
I love that. Such a simple argument people can have, interpreting the idea of having coffee at midnight. Without a doubt, it is sex, though, right? You don't feel that it could have just been coffee.
Oh, absolutely.
I wonder if that's sort of a guy's approach to thinking of this scene. If I should get my wife over here and see if, hey, honey, come over here. Yeah. Just ask her what she thinks, because, she would probably be more of the mind well, it could have just been coffee. Why does it have to be sex? Yeah. That might be a guy's way of thinking.
Although, if you look back to the scene in the car when George says, "Oh no, coffee keeps me up if I drink it late," the look on Carol's face, she's kind of okay. She kind of is a bit taken aback by it. Mm-hmm. So
George goes on. He's just, he's really in a rut. I think this might be the lowest we've seen George in the show so far. Everything was going so great. He was funny. She was laughing. Yeah. And there's this little bit here that makes me a little sad where he's I kept saying to myself, keep it up. Don't blow it. You're doing great. Aww. There's that little, you imagine this little George and I'm just cheering him on. Go for it, man.
Well, his little man is an idiot. So.
Yeah. Elaine is, I have to say, even though Elaine might not exactly be agreeing with him that, coffee was sex, I think she's trying to be helpful. She's trying to,
she's very encouraging here.
Yeah, talk him off the ledge. She probably had a great time and he should just call her. But George thinks it's too soon. He's playing a Wednesday call. Where do you fall on this? Also, wait a couple of days to call back?
Well, the adage is you don't want to seem over anxious. Mm-hmm. But if you like somebody, you like somebody. And I don't think it hurts to say, hey, I had a really nice time yesterday. Hopefully we can do it again. But maybe some people are put off by that. Being damn, give me a break.
You have a Saturday date. You might have screwed up a little bit. I feel like Wednesday is a little too long. I would have done a Monday or a Tuesday call.
Yeah, at least a day, right?
Well, yeah, definitely at least a day. And Sunday, no one really wants to talk maybe and make plans.
Mm-hmm.
If I were George, I would have done a Tuesday, I think. What about you?
And keep in mind, this is back when they didn't have the luxury of texting.
Mm-hmm.
So it had to be a legit phone call. Pick up, you dial, you get the other person, or you have to leave a message, as we'll see.
Yeah.
But you couldn't just shoot a text saying, great to see you.
Mm-hmm. George has this great little piece here, though.
It's all in your head. All she knows is she had a good time. I think you should call her.
I can't call her now. It's too soon. I'm planning a Wednesday call.
Why? I love it when guys call me the next day.
Of course you do, but you're imagining a guy you like, not a guy who goes, oh, no, I don't drink coffee late at night. If I call her now, she's going to think I'm too needy. Women don't want to see need. They want a take-charge guy, a colonel, a Kaiser, a czar.
All she'll think is that you like her.
That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid.
She wants you to like her.
Yes, she wants me to like her if she likes me, but she doesn't like me.
I don't know what your parents did to you.
That is so true.
Ain't that the truth? Yes.
No, we can learn a lot from the show, Vinny.
How to date.
Take notes.
Seinfeld way.
And Elaine just ends this whole, conversation with, I don't know what your parents did to you, which is really saying a lot because even though we haven't met the parents yet, it's true that I think George probably would have turned out to be a much healthier, upbeat person if he weren't raised by Frank and Estelle.
Or, as Jerry points out, if they had gotten divorced much sooner.
Yeah, he would have been normal, right?
Because George shifts to full-on neurotic mode, oh, but she doesn't like me,
Kramer enters the scene, and I feel bad for Michael Richards. I feel like he has so little to work with, just in terms of, having, an effect on the overall story. He really had to do everything himself. He couldn't fall back on, a really good storyline or a lot of scenes. He walks in, and I think he kind of improvs here for a moment, right? He looks in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I was gonna say, I think this is probably the first time we see full Kramer because the hair is the appropriate height. He's got the vintage shirt on. I think it's the first time he's wearing a cardigan.
Oh,
and he comes in and he looks the wrong way, and then he's scanning, and then he finally finds Jerry and Elaine.
Yeah,
and he's got the new bit.
Now this has again nothing to do with the scene. It's just I think to give him something to do. Well, I'll let Kramer say it himself.
I just thought of a really funny thing for your act. All right, Icky, you're up there. You're on this stage, and you go, hey, you ever notice how cars here in New York, they never get out of the way of ambulances anymore? Someone's in a life and death situation. And we're thinking, well, sorry, buddy. Should have thought of that when you're eating cheese omelets and sausages for breakfast every morning for the last 30 years. So you gonna use it?
I don't think so.
It's funny.
It's funny.
I like to do my own material.
That's as good as anything you do.
Now, does Kramer do this later in the show? Doesn't he come up with another bit for Jerry?
Yeah, he does. But there is...
It just hit me while you were saying that. It's when where Jerry's going to go on to Charles Grodin, and he doesn't have any material, and Kramer picks up a packing peanut, and he's like, why not talk about this stuff? What is this stuff? How do they make this stuff? And how do they get it so small?
Where's the punchline?
It's all attitude.
That's nice of Kramer to want to help Jerry out with his stand-up.
Right. Jerry says he'll pass, and he likes to do his own material. And I love that line from Kramer. That's as good as anything you do.
Oh, that is so good, and the way he delivers it is wonderful.
Yeah, we're getting more of Kramer here, which is fantastic. Now, one interesting thing to note here, I didn't know if we should bring it up now or in the next Kramer scene, but apparently in an early draft, weren't they going to reveal Kramer's first name?
Yes, they were.
No, what was it going to be? It wasn't Cosmo.
You ready for this? Conrad. Conrad Kramer with a K.
Listen, you're going to hate me for saying this. I don't think it's that bad.
I hate you.
Well, come on. Cosmo is much better. Well, I think no first name is the best.
I like the no name. Cosmo grew on me.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't happy. I remember the first time I heard Cosmo. But yeah, Conrad, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. George says he has to make a call, and he's like, all right, everyone get out. Had a little bit of a memory of Kramer like kicking everyone out so he could hide Jerry's key somewhere. I don't know if this happens a lot, but it just reminded me of that.
How often is Jerry kicked out of his own apartment?
Right. And right as they leave, George asks Jerry if he has any apples.
Don't do the apples. It's enough already with the apples.
I actually remember being a kid, and I was afraid to make phone calls in front of people, like in front of my parents, so I'd have to go upstairs. So I identify with George here. I'm revealing a lot in this episode. I need to knock it off.
No, it's good, man. I think a lot of people out there probably agree with you. You'd be surprised.
This morning.
So George is alone. You know, he needs to have everyone out. He can't call a woman with other people in the room. And I know this feeling. He's like getting ready to say what he needs to say, and he gets the machine. And she leaves like a really short like greeting. You know, you have no time to, sort of like re-scramble. Yeah, and get ready to talk. So, well, this is what George says.
Hi, it's George Costanza. Remember me? The guy that didn't come up for coffee. You see, I didn't realize that coffee didn't really mean, well, whatever. Anyway, it was fun. It was fun. So, so you call me back, if you want. That's up to you, whatever you want to do. Either way, the ball's in your court. So, take it easy.
Now, aren't there some phone machines, or didn't there used to be some phone machines where it would give you the option to re-record your message?
Back in the day, once you start talking, that's it.
One shot.
Yeah, I would think. I don't recall having an answering machine growing up with a tape. I just remember having an answering machine that was, I think it was like digital. Maybe there was some kind of tape in there, but it wasn't the kind that, you eject and you switch the tape out. So maybe with the newer models you could do that. But nowadays I think you can, right, with voicemail?
I think so, yeah.
Like you just linger on the line and that automated teller or whatever will
re-record your message, press 1 now. Right.
Yeah. Aren't there apps out there nowadays for, like, if you're going to do like a drunk text, it's like, are you sure you want to send this text?
I believe there are, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you have to like play a game or solve a math equation to actually send it?
Yes, and they also have alarm clocks like that for when you wake up. To hit your snooze button, you got to do a math problem.
Ooh, I should download that.
Yeah. It's an exciting time to be alive, isn't it?
But Jerry enters the room to grab his jacket because I guess he and Elaine are going to head out to eat or something. And George starts ranting about how he got the machine. He's a dead man. And he's like, that little light's blinking. Come listen to the idiot. The idiot's on. And Jerry kind of gives him a hard time here. Like for, you've only been on one date and you have to improvise on a machine.
Yeah, he does a little bit, doesn't he?
Shouldn't he have...
I think he sympathizes with him, but yeah, at the same time, he's he try and improvise? Yeah.
But do you think Jerry's right, though? Like, was improvising on the machine, like, the wrong decision? Should he have just hung up?
That would have been a good option since she probably didn't have caller ID.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have got one of those hang-up calls. Yeah. So, it would have been no harm. But this is George, so it was bound to happen. There's one other thing I'd like to bring up that I think you might find interesting. Can we talk about the hand motion that George makes while he is on the phone? And he's like, I didn't realize that coffee was coffee. He kind of makes like a circular motion with his pointer finger, and then he points forward as if going through the circle. That's how it looks to my eyes. So that, to me, that's a little bit suggestive.
You think so? A little too like NC-17 for...
A little bit. That should have been in the porn parody of Seinfeld. And it also reminds me of something that you and I always talk about is in... The Wink, when Mr. Morgan gets the massage.
Oh, let's set this up. Yeah, okay. So... It's the episode where George gets grapefruit in his eye, and he's been involuntarily winking. He winks at Mr. Morgan's wife when he's like, all right, your massage, wink to the wife. And then later, right, Mr. Morgan's like...
Mr. Morgan and his wife got in a fight, and he's sleeping on the couch tonight. And he's like, yeah, for some reason she thought the massage was more than a massage. And Mr. Morgan has his arm down to his side, and he kind of like stiffens his arm, but he moves it in an up and down.
Like he's jerking off motion.
That's what he said. Yeah,
that's really shocking. I think for Seinfeld, right? A little too suggestive.
It's so subtle, but yet suggestive at the same time. Just in the same way as saying, I was there. I had a magazine.
Mm-hmm. George thinks he's in the worst position of all now, and Elaine mentions that her brother-in-law. So that threw me for a loop real quick. Can't even finish the sentence without talking about it.
Go ahead.
This could be Gail's husband, is what I'm saying, right?
It is Gail's husband.
We don't have a name yet. God,
Gail is mentioned in the pic. Yeah, she hasn't been mentioned yet, but they mentioned her in the pic. Do you know where Gail lives?
In Maryland, right?
No.
No? Oh, where's she live?
St. Louis.
Damn, that's right. No.
In the airport.
I should have known.
Have you seen the show?
Elaine says that her brother-in-law once left a message on this guy's answering machine, and he blurted out some business info he wasn't supposed to, and that would have cost him $15,000. So, he waited outside the guy's house, went up with him, and switched the tape.
George is immediately intrigued by this. He did that?
It's so funny. Like, we just don't get into this situation, immediately, because this almost seems like what the whole episode is based on. But
yes,
it's a lot of build-up just to like this little bit of info. Jerry tries to reassure George that he's overreacting, and Carol will call him back before we go into the act break. And we come back to Jerry's apartment. Donna is there. She's at the counter, and what is Jerry saying? He's never seen one episode of I Love Lucy ever?
Ever.
And then
she finds that amazing.
There's like a little bit of about him being lactose intolerant. Jerry goes to the bathroom, and George kind of enters, right as he walks by, and he kind of does a Kramer thing, right? He like runs in like ready to talk, and he's like has to look around first for a moment.
I like that.
It's always weird when George is in like a awkward situation like this. I don't know if it's just because there's not a lot of like funny to work with, but he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll leave."
Well, he's very charged,
mm-hmm.
and then he gets immediately apologetic and out of his element because Donna's there now. Notice how Donna introduces herself. "Oh, hi, I'm Donna." And George doesn't say, "Oh, I'm George." He says, "Oh, you're the one that likes that commercial."
Oh, yeah.
So this is like a reverse of, "Hi, I'm George. Nice to meet you, George." With Dolores and the Junior Mint.
I gave it a shot.
There you go. So now George is backpedaling, and Jerry and Donna start fighting. She's upset that he told his friends that she liked the commercial.
So you go around telling your friends I'm not hip because I like that commercial.
What? What did you say?
I said what? Nothing. I didn't.
You told him how I like the commercial.
Well, so what if I said that?
Well, so you didn't have to tell your friends.
No, I had to tell my friends. My friends didn't have to tell you.
You have to talk to your friends about your date.
I said at this point, I think it's pretty much common knowledge that if you go on a date with somebody, there's going to be 5 to 10 people that are going to hear about it.
Yeah, at least.
It's just depending how much information is divulged.
Sure. And I guess like how big their group of friends are. It usually at least goes to one, but if you've been dating someone long enough, it might start to spread.
And then they tell 2 friends.
Kramer enters in the middle of this arguing, and immediately Kramer's the same way, right? He's like, "Cotton dockers."
And he snaps his fingers.
Yeah, another Kramerism. And as she's leaving, we get this. What is with Kramer? He always is advertising something, but he has the great line of 100% cotton dockers. If they're not dockers, they're just pants. So Donna leaves, and Jerry tells George that I can't believe you would say that, and George is like, "You know me," and what he says, he's a vault, right?
No, George, I think, says, "Oh, I cannot believe that happened." He's like, "I don't know what happened. You know me. I'm a vault."
Mm-hmm.
So George puts the onus on himself. So this is the first mention of the vault in Seinfeld.
Right.
And I went through and found other mentions of the vault. We have the fix-up, when Elaine and Jerry fix George up with Cynthia, as we mentioned earlier. Jerry puts it in the vault that George and Cynthia had sex. He's not going to tell Elaine. The parking space, when Mike Moffat calls Jerry a phony, Kramer tells Jerry this. Jerry puts it in the vault. The pool guy, when Susan hangs out with Elaine and learns how to use the term vault, then she explains it to George. George, says his worlds are colliding. And then finally, in the betrayal, which might be the most hilarious usage of the vault is we find out the combination into Elaine's vault, which is
Peach Schnapps.
Peach Schnapp man.
Yeah, I feel like the betrayal is the most popular use of the term vault.
Yeah.
You know, that comes up a lot. Also with the whole Susan thing, like when she starts adopting the term vault, you know. You got that from Elaine, didn't you? So Jerry and George, there's a little bit of setup here, but it pretty much just gets us into the coffee shop because George has to tell Jerry about what happened with Carol. So they're sitting.
So here's the chronology of events. So go.
Yeah. So they're sitting in the booth, and so he made the first call to Carol in Jerry's apartment on Sunday, right?
Yep.
Where
he didn't hear back.
Right, and he leaves this panic message. She doesn't call back, so he calls again on Monday. He leaves another message, but we don't know what that message was like, right?
No.
Safe to say it's probably, I think it's like the first one, but probably he's in control a little bit more.
I think it's more, he's collected his thoughts finally.
Gets the machine again. Calls Tuesday.
Yes, and now he's a little bit pissed.
So is Tuesday the one when he...
I know you're there. I don't know what your story is.
So, and then is there another call? Like, is this Wednesday?
Wednesday, he gets the machine one last time, and that's when he lets fly like Mussolini.
Right. So now we're on Thursday.
Yeah.
Would that make sense?
Yeah, Carol returned his call, and he says today, which we assume is Thursday.
Right. Okay, so we're at Thursday. So quite a few days have gone by. George goes on to say that Carol's been in the Hamptons since Sunday, and she didn't know if he was trying to get in touch with her. Her machine broke, and she's been using her old machine, and she doesn't have the beeper for it. Does that mean that she's not able to like call a number and listen to her?
Yeah, she doesn't know the code to access her answer machine from another location.
It's like a physical tape. You have to be around to hear.
Well, I think you can sometimes call your home number, and then if you type in a code, then you can listen to the messages.
Oh, I got it.
That's what
okay.
she doesn't have because it's her old machine.
Okay.
But I love the circumstances under which this situation is happening. It seems very logical and realistic.
Yeah.
Like everything works together perfectly for her not receiving these messages.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a lot to recap. You know, there's a lot of exposition here, and like kind of setting right now. This is where we are, but. Yeah, it totally works, and it makes sense. Nothing's too confusing.
Yeah.
You know, nothing is sort of taking you out of the episode. You're like, huh, what? So we get this little moment where, you know, George is really setting up the whole crux of the episode.
So she didn't get the messages.
Exactly, but they're on there waiting. She said she can't wait to see me. We're having dinner tonight. She's supposed to call me as soon as she gets home.
But what about the messages? Elaine's thing? How you gonna get in?
I'll meet her outside the building.
Nice reveal.
Yeah, that audience reaction, though, another thing that bugs me, they're like gasping. It's like, is it that shocking? Maybe because they know, you know, what George is about to say, but is there any sense of confusion, though, from you at all when Jerry says, well, what about the messages? And George pulls the tape out of his jacket, that he got the tape from her apartment, and that's what that tape is?
No.
No, not at all.
No, did you think that? Oh, you.
Not this time because I've seen the episode so much, but the first time, yeah, just 10 seconds ago, I'm like, yeah, this isn't too complicated. It's very easy to follow. Yet, when I first saw this episode, I thought he was implying that he broke into her apartment and he stole the tape with the messages on it.
Does anybody else want to host this show with me? Anybody? Anybody?
But you have to admit, isn't that something that George might do? Like break into an apartment? And
he broke out of an apartment to cheat on a IQ exam.
Well, he didn't break out. He stayed there. Elaine did it for him.
He went. Well, oh yeah.
Does anyone else want to host the show? I'm just kidding.
You know.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm the big dum dum here. I don't know why I thought that initially when I first saw this episode, but the way the audience reacts, like, why are they so shocked if it's being conveyed that he has a blank tape and he wants to switch it at some point? Why is the audience gasping? Like,
maybe the idea itself is a bold, move on his part.
Maybe. So George kind of walks Jerry through the situation, and I love this. This takes us back a little bit to like the stakeout, which wasn't as tense, but there's nothing better than Jerry and George sitting down and scheming, coming up
a plan.
Oh, it's the best, and then not having the plan go exactly the way they want. This makes me think of like The Rye, or
The Switch.
Oh, The Switch. Yeah, it's so good. Love it. Now George explains that they're going to meet Carol outside of her building when And then maybe when she goes to the bathroom, they'll be able to, make the switch. And Jerry's going to have to make the switch, of course. And I love it. George, just for a moment there, and I'm so glad they kept this moment in, but he drops the tape and he starts freaking out. He's like, who am I kidding? I can't do this.
Who am I kidding? I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't even know how to work those stupid machines.
There's nothing to it. You lift the lid, it comes right out.
You do it for me.
What?
Come on, it'll be so much easier.
How are you going to get me up there?
I'll tell her I bumped into you. I'm giving you a ride uptown.
And who makes the switch?
You do.
I do.
I can't do it. I'll keep her busy.
I can't get involved in this.
I think I may be in love with this woman.
What if she sees me?
Oh, you are such a wuss.
A wuss?
Yeah.
Did you call me a wuss?
Do you think he's full of it?
Partially.
Yeah, I think he really likes her.
Feelings for her, but he, come on, Jerry, help me out. I think I love her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of weird to hear George confess his love for someone. As we know,
That's right.
He very rarely says "I love you."
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about this where he's almost like using this as a way to get Jerry to do something he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
Especially because when Jerry says he can't do it, George immediately looks disgusted, and this is when he calls him a wuss. It makes me think that George doesn't really care about Carol as much as he's letting on. He's just trying to get Jerry to, agree to do it.
Oh, at this point, yeah. I mean, in this particular conversation, yeah, his purpose is to get Jerry to make that tape switch.
Mm-hmm. And this is the moment here where it really made me think of Back to the Future when Jerry's like, "Did you just call me a wuss?"
And he wonderfully curls his upper lip underneath, so you see a lot of teeth. He's like, ooh.
Is he laughing or is he just looking irritated?
I think he's just repulsed by George's accusation of being a wuss.
Next scene is outside Carol's apartment. Jerry and George are, of course, waiting for her, and they're trying to come up with, the specifics, like what if Carol gets away from George while he's keeping her busy? He has to signal to Jerry that she's coming. This is classic Seinfeld,
Sure.
I think, here.
Yeah.
But George will call out Tippy Toe.
Yes.
What is Tippy Toe?
Well,
is it a song?
I just, think of it as somebody's coming. So, like, be alert. But it could be a song.
It's so weird.
I actually have a story about this.
Go.
So, I'm from Maryland. My family, every season when crabs are in season, blue crabs, we will go to this restaurant, Captain Billy's, and it's on the water, and we'll have all you can eat crabs, and you'll just sit there for hours on end and just keep picking crabs, and you don't really get filled up on crabs, but they'll have these all you can eat feasts, right? So when I was younger, and please don't judge, but we used to, and it's expensive for the crabs, but my mom would bring like a Ziploc bag, and we'd put like extra crab meat in the in the bags to take home. And they didn't want us to do this, but we actually came up as a family when a waiter was coming, and we didn't want them to see what we were doing. We would yell, "Tippy toe, tippy toe." And my mom found this to be the most funny thing. And we all knew it was from Seinfeld, but the act of, you had this family trying to steal extra crab meat from a restaurant, and we're yelling tippy toe at each other. And we still say it to this day, and we always get a chuckle out of it.
I love that.
Thank you, Seinfeld.
There's something about the tension and saying something as silly as tippy toe.
Yes.
That just it makes you laugh. I could totally hear that. George suggests they sing. What song? And his is How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? From The Sound of Music, I think.
Yes. So more musicals coming out of George. This is his second song that he's singing.
Right, and we know later he gets Jerry tickets to Guys and Dolls.
Yes.
And is there another musical reference from George?
They go see the opera.
Yeah.
That's for everybody though.
Yeah, not Broadway per se, but he.
MacArthur Park.
What's MacArthur
Never
Park?
Had My Way Again in the statue.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so George definitely has his, his finger on the pulse, I feel like, of Broadway musicals.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lovely song, though.
Yeah.
Now, did you listen to the Peter, Paul, and Mary Lemon Tree or the Trini Lopez?
I listened to both. The
Good soldier.
Thank you. The So yeah, Jerry's not impressed with how do you solve a problem like Maria. So the next one is Lemon Tree, and George guesses Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Jerry goes, "No, Trini Lopez." First of all, I thought Trini Lopez was a woman. It's not. It's a man.
Oh, huh.
Because the name Trini doesn't.
Yeah, I thought it was a woman,
like Trina or something. But
Trina.
I don't know. The Trini Lopez version is much faster tempo, and the Peter, Paul, and Mary one is more slower and whimsical.
Yeah.
And the way they sing it, Lemon Tree, very pretty, and that version sounds more like the Peter, Paul, and Mary version to me.
So when they're
interesting, since Jerry, degrades George for saying Peter, Paul, and Mary. No, Trini Lopez. You know?
Interesting.
But the lyrics are lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the lemon is impossible to eat.
Oh my God. Okay, so what do you think? Should we have our episode play out with Peter, Paul, and Mary or Trini Lopez?
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
All right, sounds good. George, one more question, asks Jerry if he has the tape, and Jerry's like, standard, micro, which I assume, did Jerry come up with the idea of getting the micro? I think George would have given him the moment, or the tape. It just seems like Jerry's sort of taking credit for, like, both of them. I don't know.
I like how they thought ahead, and just Jerry's brimming with confidence right now.
Suddenly, George sees Carol, and he starts losing it again. He's like, I'm scared, walk away, cancel everything.
Get up, it's her. Oh, the hell with this, I'm scared to death. Just walk away, it's off, cancel everything, go.
What are you doing here? I thought I was supposed to call you when I got home.
I couldn't wait. I was too anxious to see you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh, this is my friend, Jerry Seinfeld. I just bumped into him around the corner. Isn't that a coincidence? The funny thing is, I see him all the time.
All the time.
It's nice to meet you.
Hi. There's so many moments like this throughout Seinfeld where, Jerry and George are up to something, and the person they're talking to is just so oblivious, so sweet. And it's just so sneaky how George always has something else, on his mind.
But for comedic purposes, they keep having these obstacles come up. So Carol is providing this wonderful resistance to prevent them from getting up to the apartment.
Oh, they're the obstacles, right? On this
Yes.
Race they're in.
So first she says she doesn't need to go upstairs. She'll just give her bag to the doorman. Then Jerry says he needs to use the bathroom. Carol says, no, there's one in the coffee shop next door. So that's out. George says, oh, I need to make a call. Well, they have a phone, too. So finally, George pulls Carol aside, and this is actually brilliant.
I know Jerry. He has this phobia about public toilets. I think we really should go upstairs.
I think I will go upstairs. I can check my machine.
Right.
So this is just wonderful writing by Larry and Jerry.
I do like when George is telling Carol about, Jerry's phobia or whatever it is. You just see him in the background, and he can hear their conversation, and he's just kind of like picking at like the stone wall, just kind of like a little kid pretending he's not listening. It's really good.
Yeah.
I always applaud Jerry when he does something that's not in the script, that as an actor he comes up with.
Yes.
Since he is, as we've discussed, not an actor. One other thing I noticed is it's sort of funny when they're walking into the apartment and the doorman is about to open the door for them. He doesn't open it. Like before they cut, to the inside.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
There's like an awkward pause because there's probably either the door doesn't work or it's like, the set. Not the set, but the behind the scenes.
Brick wall behind it.
Probably. It's funny. He just sort of holds and they all kind of like crowd into that little alcove.
So they get up to Carol's apartment. Did you notice the layout of the apartment?
Sure did.
It looks very familiar.
Whose apartment did you think it looked like?
George's later apartment.
Yeah.
In later seasons that he lives in with Susan, as well as Susan's apartment. Like the Ross's apartment.
Yes, the Rosses.
Because all those apartments you come in and make a left, and then there's that long, narrow hallway leading to the bedroom.
Yeah, almost every apartment I think this is the most common layout, right? Like doors, depending on what side the door is on, it doesn't matter. There's always a hallway right when you walk in. And then there's the main area, like the couch and whatnot. Sometimes behind the couch, there's like a door that leads into the kitchen or something. But yeah, all of these apartments are pretty much laid out the same. Even Elaine's was sort of set up like that.
Yes.
Right at the gate, Jerry tries to get Carol to go to the bathroom first. She says she already went, and Jerry's like, oh, it's the damnedest thing. But it went away.
Well, that's weird.
Is that weird?
I think the longer you wait and hold out, then that urge goes away and you miss it.
Yeah, like Kramer.
There you go.
Now, Carol's about to check her messages, and God, George is so good in this episode. He like pounces on her, and he's so full of it when he's just like, "Can I talk to you for a second, please? This is very important."
Well, let me just check my messages and we'll go.
Carol, can I talk to you for a second right now?
Sure.
Please, this is very important.
He's so full of crap. And like, why Carol she's like, "Why are you taking me to my apartment?" You think she would pick up on this, that they're up to something.
Now, I don't remember what the etiquette was back in the day for people to listen to their answering machines, but would you listen to a voice message in front of visitors in your house?
I think so. I don't think it's that big a deal. I mean, it does make me think of season 4 when Jerry makes the mistake of playing his answering machine in front of Naomi, whose laugh sounds like Elmer Fudd sitting on a juicer, but I think I'd do that. Yeah, I think I have no problem playing my voicemail.
All right.
In front of strangers.
It's your funeral.
Carol starts to walk back, and what is George shouting out?
Tippy toe, lemon tree.
The last minute. And Carol's like, "Oh, I know who you are. You're a comedian. It's been driving me crazy." Which is kind of weird. You think George would have mentioned Jerry maybe at some point, but I guess not. I mean, it was just their first date. George has this great line where he's just like, "That is so rude."
Yeah, so serious.
God, he's such a jerk. Just, it disgusts me. It's kind of hard to convey this with a clip, but from the time that George takes Carol back to the bedroom, Jerry makes the switch, and then he's like, "Hey, you two, I'm ready to go." It's only been like 5 seconds.
Right.
Like, why didn't he say that earlier? But I think that's just part of the humor.
That was the secret. Mm-hmm. That he didn't want Jerry to know, and then she ends up blurting it out in front of Jerry. Anyway, that's what you wanted to tell me, that your father wears sneakers in the pool?
So why did she admit that, if that was so
Yeah, that was a secret. That George told her that in confidence, and she just blurts it out in front of Jerry. And why would George not want Jerry to know?
Now, this, of course, made you think of a later episode.
Yes, it did. Puffy shirt. George and Jerry are discussing whose parents are crazier. George says his father wears his sneakers in the pool. And I love visualizing Jerry Stiller on a cruise wearing sneakers that are soaking wet. That just brings me joy.
So you imagine like he has his bathing suit on and sneakers, that's it?
Trunks. He has trunks on.
Trunks on, right. I could understand if he's wearing like water shoes, but we're talking like straight up sneakers with socks.
I'm envisioning like gray Velcro.
So Carol checks her machine, no messages. And this moment here, even though I've seen it a million times, it still makes me tense up.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. After I talked to you today, my neighbor called me and played my messages to me over the phone. Yours were hilarious. We were both cracking up. I just love jokes like that.
And I always wait for her to like have like a twist,
Blow up at him.
Yeah, like, "You little phony. Like, I know what you did, or I know what you're doing." I feel like she's going to call him out. Like, I don't know why that. I think it's just the way the actress delivers her lines.
Yeah, well, it's set up that way, and you feel this tension, and you even see George. He's going through all the possible excuses in his head, and she beats him to it, and she's like, "Oh, my neighbor, it was hilarious. We were both cracking up." I love jokes like that.
we didn't hear his huge explosion when he was channeling Mussolini, but do you think that they could ever be construed as jokes?
I don't know. It's like a stretch, but it works so well for this episode. But if somebody left me 2 really odd messages and called every day, wouldn't you think he's a nut and you wouldn't want to associate with him rather than, I'll go on a second date with this guy?
Yeah, he got really got lucky with this one, I have to say.
But hey, it's Carol, and we love Carol.
And then right as they leave, Jerry, of course, gives George that real, like, annoyed look on his face, right? Like, he has a fake laugh, and then it just turns to a
he's not
stern
happy.
look. No.
Like, I went through all this crap for this.
And our last scene is a little bit of stand-up, of course.
I love my phone machine. I wish I was a phone machine. I wish if I saw somebody on the street I didn't want to talk to, I could go, "Excuse me, I'm not in right now. If you could just leave a message, I could walk away." I also have a cordless phone, but I don't like that as much. Because you can't slam down a cordless phone. You get mad at somebody on a real phone. You can't talk to me like that. Bang, cordless phone. You can't talk to me like that. I told him.
Now, I like the stand-up here because it's sort of like a two-parter. I love the idea of just walking down the street and you can almost give someone your voicemail,
Yeah.
You don't have to really, you don't have to talk to them. But this bit about the cordless phone, I feel like I've heard this before. Like he's had this stand-up somewhere else. I don't know if it was on a CD or if it was on SNL when he hosted.
I can't recall, but it's quintessential Jerry.
I feel like I know this a lot better than it just being featured in the closing moments of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get the part though of the idea of hanging up a cordless phone. Like, why is he struggling so much? Is he just overacting?
Yeah, you can't slam a cordless. You can't slam a cordless phone like you can a cord full phone. So you gotta. Where's the off button? How do I hang this thing up?
Right. You can still slam it down though. It just doesn't give that lasting effect of.
You could slam the antenna back into the phone, but then you risk bending the antenna.
Right. And those old like rotary phones, I feel like were just made so much stronger than like the plastic cordless phones.
Yeah.
You could get away. Yeah, you could get away with slamming those.
And they're fun to you see in movies they rip them off the wall or rip them out of the cord out of the wall. Jerry does that actually.
Oh right, yeah. All right, I think we've nitpicked this episode to death enough, so let's move on to our ratings.
So, what do you think?
I think it goes without saying that I really enjoyed this episode. I like the premise. I like that it was something from Larry David's real life. All the stand-up bits were really good. We were really swooning over Carol in this episode for some reason. I don't remember liking her as much as I did until we sat down and really looked at this episode in depth. But I loved her character. I love the actress that played her. And I really like George in this episode too. Jason Alexander shined in this episode. He's in the past couple. He's really, come into his own as George and just belted out of the park. But I found George to be very charming up until the end when he got really neurotic about the message. But on the date, I didn't care for the character of Donna. The actress was fine, but just the character, So I didn't. Jerry's storyline was okay for me, and I would have liked more Elaine, but and Kramer for that matter. But as a whole, I really enjoyed this episode, and there's some good jokes, some good quotes that we got that are very quotable. So I will go ahead and give this 8 pairs of underwear out of 10.
Would you prefer this episode over the potential bet episode, from what you heard?
I mean, the bet is salacious, but I like this one. This one's more, good-natured and kind-hearted than what we would have got with the bet. So yes.
Yeah, I think we'll always wonder what the bet would have turned out to be, just since they never filmed it. But this episode just felt a little more Seinfeldian than the bet did. I don't think this is one of the stronger episodes of the season, or the series for that matter. But for whatever reason, I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would. This isn't up there with a punny remark or ex-girlfriend or Chinese restaurant, but I found myself laughing and chuckling a lot more in this episode than I have in past episodes, like say the busboy, which I'm just not a big fan of.
You leave the busboy alone.
Carol, speaking of the girlfriends in this episode, Carol, there's really nothing memorable about her. Like, if anything, she's probably one of the least memorable girlfriends, just because there's nothing funny about her. There's no like physical trait or mannerism or nickname
that have a thing.
Yeah, the nickname that the gang gives her. Same thing can be said for Donna. The character might be, you might not like the character because she and Jerry just don't connect the way you'd like them to. But
she's the Cotton Dockers girl.
Yeah. Both actresses, I think, do a great job this episode, and I'm glad that we're getting a larger supporting cast in a sense. We've only had really, I guess, 2 characters for this episode, but it's nice to kind of get into this dating world of our main characters a little bit more, as opposed to always talking about a girl that you see off screen somewhere, or guy for that matter. Elaine, totally underused for this episode. I have a feeling that they had no idea what to do for her character at all when they wrote this episode, and they just kind of squeezed her in there. Same thing could be said for Kramer. This is really more of a George episode, I'd say, than anything.
Yeah.
And Jerry is sort of playing second fiddle to him, which is great. Love it. I'm glad we have it. I'm glad that they could, in these earlier episodes, just test things out. You know, have a heavy George episode, hate saying this, have an episode like the Chinese restaurant without Kramer. You know, just try things out, because it would be harder to get away with that later in the season. All in all, the writing was pretty good due to the circumstances. But yeah, all in all, I like this episode. I love getting into George's neuroses. I love hearing how he kind of breaks down the psychological effects of going out with a woman and how you recover from leaving a message on someone's answering machine. I love that. I think it's totally relatable and just fantastic. So all in all, not the strongest episode in the world, but not too bad. I'm going to give this 7.5 problems like Maria out of 10.
When I was just a lad of 10, my father said to me, come here and take a lesson from the lovely lemon tree.
All right, that's going to do it for us at Seincast. Vinny, let everyone know how they can get in touch with us.
Sure thing, Matt. You can email us at seincast@gmail.com, find us on Facebook, and also follow us on Twitter at Seincast. We'll be posting pictures, little tidbits from the show, trivia, anything. Reach out to us.
Also, if you haven't already, please leave us a rating and review on iTunes. The more feedback we get, the more likely other Seinfeld fans will find out about the show. So what episode do we have for next week, Vinny?
Next week, we are discussing the 8th episode of Season 2, The Apartment.
Boys. But for now, I'm Matt.
I'm Vinny.
Signing off. Seincast is not endorsed by Castle Rock Entertainment, Sony Pictures, or NBC, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. The official Seinfeld site can be found at sonypictures.com/TV/Seinfeld. Seinfeld, the Seinfeld logo, and all names, pictures, and audio of Seinfeld characters are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Castle Rock Entertainment or their respective trademark and copyright holders.
Lemon tree very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible to eat. Lemon tree very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet.
Lemon tree very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet. Right, okay.